crave your indulgence to try and spend between 20 to 30 minutes of your time. And I think it's going to be worth it. Maybe these 20 minutes will save you 20 hours. Maybe these 20 minutes will save you 20 days. But the most important thing is I think you'll be investing in the right thing if you spend just 20 to 30 minutes listening to what I have to say. So I just want to take an overview of this masterclass, which I called Survey Data Management with Stata. And that's major software we'll be using to manage data. Of course, there will be other software like Excel, like Google Earth, we're going to refer to, but Stata will be the springboard by which we even communicate with all this other software. So I think it will be very important that you listen carefully to what we have to say and then you make a decision. But I think this will be worth your time and worth your investment, especially if you manage data for surveys. So without wasting much time, I always like to explain why this course is different from all the others. And I know that we may not be the best in the world, but for our niche and for our target market, we think we are doing a lot of things differently. First thing is convenience. The first time I started running these courses, I had a geographical location where people met, and no two lessons or lectures was all the class complete, because most of the people who will need this kind of class, they have traveled for some field work, they are on some project. So I had 8 students at the beginning. The very first class I ever did had 8 students, but we were never 8 during those sessions because they had to travel for a project or they were involved in some other kind of work and they were not able to come. But now there is convenience with this course. You can sit in the comfort of your home and then take it at your pace. So it's online, just log in anywhere there is internet in the world. So you can travel if you have to travel, and then you will get the same quality you are getting as if you are in the classroom. So the second thing is the style of my teaching. I love to teach a simple concept, demystify those complex concepts, but I now use complex problems. So, excuse me, I use something very simple, break it down in a simple way that you can understand, but to test the simplicity of that information, I now give you a very complex problem to solve. So my questions are usually very tough, but they come after I had broken down the concept. And for me, the test of the simplicity of the concept is how you can demystify the complex problem. So that is one unique style of my teaching. Another thing I will do for you is, after you are done with the sessions, there are about 12 modules. Once you are done with the 12 modules, I can give you 1 month hand-holding training. But this is usually for the first 20 to register. So I would handhold you, spend time, and then we can have a consultation. So you stand a chance of having this one-on-one consultation on whatever project you are working on, provided it has to do with data, survey data, and it has to do with Stata software. So the fourth thing is that it's a comprehensive curriculum. I went around everything I suffered and I tried to put things there. I use this phrase a lot with my mentees: you have not seen blood. I've been to war. I've made some mistakes that has cost the company millions, that has cost me stress, cost me my health. So I am putting all that out there. You don't have to make my own mistakes. And that's what you will be learning in these 12 modules, which run every week. So for 12 weeks, this will run consistently. So another thing you are going to get at the end of this course is 5 specialized do files, at least 5, because there are more. But I will make it dynamic because I do not know how much you will need and how much you can absorb. So depending on what you absorb, that determines how many more do files. But I'm very, very sure you're going with 5 do file templates that make your life easy. You just plug and you play. So you don't need to build from scratch again. I have done all the dirty work of building, and then it makes your automation faster. So having said all these things, I can assure you, and then you just write the notes down, look through these things. In the next 2 to 3 years, for every $1 that you have spent on this course, you're going to get 5 back for every every $1. I want to assure you that that is very possible ROI. And this comes because the ability to make more money with less stress, whether in terms of a raise, in terms of promotion, in terms of being able to manage more projects and increase your value sets. There are things that I will teach that are not hard skills, they are basic soft skills that will help you position yourself for a greater compensation. So let's quickly explain what we are trying to achieve on this course. I always love that Stephen Covey favorite quote, begin with the end in mind. What do I want to achieve with this course? I understand that anybody who is listening to me and works with Stata for surveys knows that the most important goal for any survey is to come with credible data or data sets within a desired deadline. As you can see, the hourglass is moving, time is ticking, and some of you are even spending precious time out of your projects to listen to this, and I really appreciate it. Thank you once more for spending this time, and I know it's going to be worth it. So how do I get this credible data in a short time? And credibility is all defined there for you, so you can find it, but data that can be trusted, data that I call world class. Any agency that picks your data can make sense of it and say, who was the guy who produced the quality of this data? So the essence is the highest possible quality of data in the shortest possible time with the least amount of stress. I'm very sure some of us can relate to the stress part of this work. If you plan and structure everything properly, you won't have as much stress as you do. And you may be amazed that what took you 20 hours to do, you can literally do it in 20 minutes. So trust me on this and just listen and follow on. So I'm just going to go through the models with you of the things you are going to learn during this course. I don't have so much time, but these are the things you are going to learn in this course. And I'll just quickly rush through, and then hopefully if you have questions, you can shoot me a mail, ask a question, or just drop it in the comments. If there are comments, or just reply in this video, whatever means you got the video, just try and respond in that same way. So module 1 will basically be, and every module happens every week, is what I call the first things first. And I try to make the foundation clear. I must warn you, when you are taking my course, it's sequential. Please don't skip a module, because I build the complexity across the modules. So it's very important that we understand the fundamentals before. Secondly, I want you, especially those of us, the tendency of those of us who have managed data for 5, 6, 7, 4 years is to feel that we're experienced. Even me, the teacher, every time I attend fresh classes, listen to fresh perspectives on these things. So I attend courses, I take courses. So I don't want you to, and I don't go to those classes like, oh, I already know it all. I empty myself so that I can be filled. So please, it's very important that you have that perspective. Don't say, oh, everything is about to say I know it. You may just be wrong. And I've learned something in this job. Those little things we despise come back to haunt us big time. So I will be talking about the big picture, and I always use that word again, begin with the end in mind. And basically that first slide you saw some few minutes ago will be what I would start as the basis for discussion in Module 1, Lesson 1. In Lesson 2, I will talk about the journey to credibility, how you would plan and strategize from your raw data to your final data sets. It's a journey, and if you plan it properly, you get less stressed. Then I'm going to talk about this. I call it the data management cycle, because if you understand where you are in that cycle at any point in time, it will require different kind of responsibilities and different kinds of strategies. So I'm going to talk about that in detail and why it's very important that you understand what part of the cycle you are at any time you are working on any project. And then I'm going to do Stata basics. I'm going to assume that you don't know Stata, and I want you to please listen. You will get some information, even though you think you already know all these things. They will be very useful information. So that will be Stata basics, and then we're going to review the sample files. We're sharing some files and folders. I made them all simple. You know, I said it. We do simple concepts but complex problems. So we'll be reviewing all the sample files, how to access them and what to do with them. And then the first use of Stata, we will now do that. Now I know some of us have used Stata for a long time, but for those who haven't had the experience or who have had a very hogwash experience, this opportunity for you to use it properly. So there will be that session or lesson where we'll break that down. And then I'm going to talk about do files and the reproducibility of research, because they will be central to what we are going to do for the rest of the module. So we'll try and build on do files and the thinking behind them and why they are useful. So please don't preempt me. I may just lose you. And then every module has a next steps. We talk about the next module and what we are doing, so that as we are transiting from the simple to the complex, you will not be lost. In module 2, we talk about data preparation, how we get data prepared before we now start reviewing it. And we talk about the rationale behind that. We're also talking about the directories and the folders, because it all starts with files stored somewhere. And then we talk about the different types of data input, and this time we begin to look at some special Stata commands. I can't put all of them out there, but there will be special Stata commands, and I'm telling you, don't take these things for granted. Some of you have used these commands, but you don't know how powerful they are if you use them efficiently. And then we're looking at labeling of variables and value sets. Remember, data preparation. We'll talk about that in detail during the class. And then there will be a lesson on date and time variables. People make a lot of mistakes here. We're going to look at it critically and look at some other commands in Stata that have to do with this date and time variables. And then there will be a module exercise. I told you, every time there will be a complex problem based on the simple things I've broken down, and then you will have to sort that yourself. So we'll talk about the next steps for module 3, and then module 3 we're going to talk about the data checks and do an introduction, the rationale behind data checks, because when you understand the thinking it helps you. And then we're going to look at assessing interviewer performance, because that's one critical thing that happens, especially during certain parts of what I call the data management cycle. So if you know the parts of the data management cycle where you are supposed to do this, then it will help you a great deal. And then overview of the kind of checks that you need to do. We'll talk about that, and even in the modules ahead we will, of all the types of checks that you can do. And then providing feedback. When you check, you are supposed to provide feedback. How do you do that? In a way that it can be creative, it can be less efficient, and it can go straight to the point. And then we can also provide feedback via screenshots and all the technologies that are going to be involved. So it's going to be a swell time. And then we'd have another complex problem and next steps, problem module exercise and next steps. In module 4, we're talking about the clarity and the completeness. We're checking for clarity and completeness. We have mentioned that in previous modules. So, and then we'll look at that describe command in Stata properly. We'll look at the label command. It has a lot of variations that some of you don't even know about, but they're very powerful if you understand how they can help you review your data. And then there's a use label, very important command to do, that will help you understand your value labels. So, and then there will be special add-ons. There are quite a number of them. I hope I can do justice to those ones. Otherwise, I have dedicated another module for trying to attend to all the special add-ons that will help you with clarity and completeness. And then we take another complex exercise and next steps. In module 5, we're looking at consistency, and this is the part first section, and we'll be basically looking at the logical checks and then working with categorical variables. The almighty egen, we're going to try and break it down, especially in the context of what we are doing, then the collapse, the contract, and then the continuous variables, the same commands to apply to most of them. Very powerful commands that help you to get information in a way that can be interesting. And then we shall be reviewing the skip patterns, because that's another thing you may need to check if the skip patterns were adhered to, especially if you are dealing with your dummy data. And then visualization of checks. We may not do significant justice to this, but it's very important to be able to see it in a visual way and in a short time. So that's why we may talk about what we call dashboards. And then we will do another complex problem and then expect to discuss the next steps. In module 6, we'll be looking at consistency still, but part 2, and this time we're looking at time and interval. We're looking at time variables in a very deeper sense. We're looking at extracting time of day components, date components, obtaining and working with durations, and several lots of stuff we'll try and put in within this module. So on that week, we'll also look at relationship checks, talk about the relationship types, break it down, make it simple, and then we'll talk about dealing with orphans and the merge command. You must have heard or used the merge command in your work. And then we'll talk about dealing with nested rosters, as a roster in a roster in a roster. Or any roster that is in more than 2 levels is a nested roster. So I mean 2 levels or more, that is within a roster within a roster. And the dynamics of that and why you have to be very careful when you're checking for these things. As usual, I assure you they will be very simple, straight to the point, demystifying all this stuff, and of course there will be some next steps and exercises for this. In module 7 we're going to talk about part 3 of the data checks, and this place we're looking at the geographical checks, and this you may need some other additional software that are free. So we're going to look at the rationale about those geographic checks, because when you understand the thinking behind it helps you, and then installing the preliminary software will put you through quickly. There's QGIS, there's Google Earth. This come for absolutely no cost. You don't need to pay, but they give you a lot of information about your surveys. And then you're going to do another module exercise, and then we're going to do next steps. Then data cleaning, you've checked all the data and you have gotten all the feedback of things that need to be adjusted, things where there were mistakes. You need to understand the rationale behind that too. And then the importance of conditional variables that influence how you clean. Please don't miss this for anything. Of course, don't miss anything before the first 7 modules in the order of the weeks. This is the 8th week. We're looking at this, and then we look at the replace command. And I don't want you to preempt. It's not what you think. So is the recode command, and then cleaning best practices. The best practices for cleaning. Some of us make some mistakes that cost us a lot of stress, a lot of money, a lot of credibility. And then module exercise, and then next steps. Bear in mind, like I said, every module exercise is going to be very complex and tough, but it's based on the principles. When you understand the principles, no matter how tough it is, you'll be able to solve the problem. So we'll now take a complex case study in module 9, week 9. We'll look at a critical problem. We have looked at the phases, we have looked at data management system, we have looked at how they connect. Now we take a live project and look at it from beginning to the end. We look at the case study. So I'll give it to be like you're giving a brief. Come and review this data, and these are the things about the data. So we'll give you a brief. Then we will now sit down after that brief and ask ourselves how we're going to build a strategy for solving that problem. And then there will be implementation steps after you have done strategy. This is the first thing you do, this is the second thing you do, these are the things you do. So it's like a project within a project. And then we shall do a review everything again. And so it's a special module in the 9th week. In the 9th week, we're looking at a real life problem. And then we'll now do a module exercise that's also another complex case study. But now I have led the way, I've shown you how to think, and now you're now going to do like a mini project in the 9th week, where you have to now tell me strategies, what are you going to do differently, and this is where I will have to handhold you one-on-one too. And then of course we'll talk about the next steps in module 10. In module 10 we're talking about the final tips, managing feedback, our response to feedback, very critical, otherwise you could make mistakes. We're going to be talking about implementing this feedback. We're going to be talking about the folder structure. We're going to be talking about using Excel efficiently, because many people don't do that. So you have to understand the do's and don'ts and the dynamics that make it so easy to make your presentation look good and very interesting. So trust me, there's so much to learn. And then we're talking about documentation and data report tips, because some people want you to document what happened, and many clients ask for what we call a data management report, and you need to know how to put your house in order, so when it is time to write that report or write that section of data management within the report, you already have your facts and figures in place. So what if tables are required? Sometimes the client says, apart from producing data sets, you must produce tables. So we'll give some tips about this and basic backgrounds. And then we'll talk about final preparation, that is in preparation to submit to the client. What are the things you should look out for and all that kind of stuff. I will also try and close this module with what I call the builder's mindset, because now you begin to build structures that will make your life easy. It's like you know it's going to rain, but you don't have a roof over your head. You have enough time to build those things. So I'm going to talk about the builder's mindset so that it helps you to begin to think. And you see, to be a very successful data manager, there has to be the technical side, or what I call the hard skills and the soft skills. And when you combine them together efficiently, you'll find a very successful career. So there will be a model exercise, but this will be very, very diverse. I must warn you ahead of time because they're looking at various things, but all integrated and still asking those questions that are very pertinent to be able to be sure that you understand all that we have been saying all the way from module 1 to week 10, module 10. So I'm sure you'll begin to ask, where are modules 11 and 12? That I think is the best kept secret, and I really want to keep it like that. I want to keep you in suspense, but I want to assure you that we will be dealing with some very deep stuff, and your understanding of the first 10 modules will help us in 11 and 12. That's why I said don't skip one module, please. If you really want to do justice to 11 and 12, you must understand 1 to 10 perfectly. And I use this analogy a lot. There is a big difference between knowing how to drive. I can drive, but I cannot drive in Lagos. Sorry, I mean, if you're a Lagosian listening to this, all I'm just saying is there is a way to drive, but there's a way to drive if you're in Lagos. And if you've ever been to Lagos, maybe you'll understand and relate to what I'm trying to say. But all I am saying is that there must be a way of separating the boys from the men. So those who can not just use data, but use it in very peculiar, funny, stressful situations, and they come out successful. So those are what the models are all about. So I need you to hear what all the people who had experienced my training have felt. I want you to hear it from them. I'll give you a moment to listen to this and just let me know what you think. I mean, at the end, but I'm hoping that their own testimonials will help you make your own decision. So, without wasting much time, there are 3 of them here. Starting from my left is Tayo Ajala. He's a mentee. As you can see, the man in the middle is quite old, and I see him as a senior colleague. His name is Shafiq Arif. And then I have Zara, who worked with me in Sierra Leone years ago. All these 3 people have experienced my training from different perspectives, and it will be good for you to hear their own testimonials from yourself for yourself. And when I'm done, I will come back here and then we'll try and conclude quickly. Thank you for so much of your time, but this is very important that you listen to this too.
Hello everyone, my name is Tayo. Yeah, Babatunde, we've known for over 3 years now, and what I would say is he's good at what he does. He's very good with data using different statistical software. We've had to work on several projects together, and I'll just say he has this unique style of making things work right. I've been privileged to learn a lot under him. That's specifically now that's the Stata software, and Babatunde is very good, and he has this unique style of passing on knowledge. He makes the atmosphere very conducive that you won't even know you're learning, because it will be very interesting, very interactive. He knows how to simplify complex programming, and I'm saying this from experience because after the training with Babatunde, I've been privileged to manage a few projects, and everything he taught us were so relevant. And aside from that, Babatunde is a go-to person. You can just call him up and he's ready to provide solutions to most challenges. I can't count the number of times when I just had to call him at will and try to explain what the issue was, and somehow he always looked for a way around getting things to work. So
I will let you listen to Shafiq shortly.
My name is Shafiq Arif, and I have been working with Oxford Policy Management for the last 12 years. I had a chance to work with Baba Tunde from 2014 to 2018. And initially, when I worked with Babatunde, and my impression was that Babatunde is a guru in data management and programming. Then I had a chance to work with him in Sierra Leone, and I found him, I observed him delivering a training for about 70 people, and I was so impressed the way he delivered that training, the way he engaged people. Frankly speaking, I love his training, and you will also love his training if you get a chance to.
So thank you so much. And then we'll try and listen to Zara and see what she has to say.
Hello, this is Zara from OPM, Oxford Policy Management. I worked with Baba Tunde together on a survey we were conducting in Sierra Leone in 2017. It was a school survey, and we were in Freetown for a good 5 to 6 weeks. So yes, I do have quite a bit of training experience with Baba Tunde. I'm sure you'll all get to view and hear it for yourself, but I think you need to see it to believe it. We had Baba Tunde working with us as our data manager, so he was training the participants on the use of CAPI and also about how data was going to be managed. So we had a lot of tap your participants, pinch your participants, expand your, so like basically he was asking them to do it with their neighbors. I think we had quite an interactive session, and we would deliberately place Baba Tunde's sessions towards the second half of the day, after lunch when people were sleepy, etc. And I think like the energy he brings to training is quite something, and I hope you get to experience it. Come on, Tunde.
So thank you so much. You have heard what they have to say. Like I kept on saying, this will be worth every dollar you spend. We're compressing 15 years of experience into 12 modules, and we're trying to emphasize on the key points. I looked into the 16 years to prepare the content for this course. I looked into these 15 years and looked at the errors, the mistakes, what could have been done differently, what has worked, what has not worked, to bring out something that I know will significantly boost your career. So please, it's very important that you take it very serious. It is worth the investment of time and money, and that's why I just had other people talk. You have also seen me go through the slides with you and through the syllabus and curriculum, just to show you the kind of things that you're going to learn. They are deep, they are profound, and they are worth your time. Trust me on this. So everybody naturally will ask, how much does this cost? So it will cost 150,000 naira if you're paying in naira, or $500. And if you go online and check what they do for a Stata course, that's just generic, that does not put in these things from the perspective of data management. They are charging $950. It's there on the website, just go check it. So they're charging a lot of money, but not with the kind of values that I am giving or bringing to board. The experience, the mistakes, the errors, targeting this for data management in particular, not data analysis as per managing survey data. So it is worth every dime. But because not everybody will be able to afford that, there has been an 80% slash. So if you pay 30,000 naira or 100,000 naira before the 31st of October, you'll get an 80%. From the 1st of November, this will return back to 150 because that is worth. But as many people who want to take advantage of this cash slash should quickly do so. You can pay in naira in the link displayed below. It's very straightforward. Just say paystack.com/pay/data_data. So, and if you wanted to pay in dollars, it's the same thing, data underscore Stata, but there's a 2 in front of it. So you have all the information, and I'm hoping to see you in class. Take advantage of the opportunity before the 1st of November when this offer will be gone. By the 1st of November, it reverts back to its original price. So there's like a Black Friday promo going on. Take advantage of it and register now so that you can participate in the class. Immediately you register, you'll be given a link for access to the class, and then you can start taking your courses. So we are launching officially from the 2nd of November 2019. So anybody paying on the 1st is paying the full price. So that's the best I can do. Tell a friend who needs to know this quickly before the window closes. The window closes in less than 7 days. So thank you so much for your time. I hope it has been a enlightening session, and I hope you do the right thing. So I'll see you in class. Thank you so much for your time.